Last week during the Colorado TCU game, TCU's running back Trey Sanders had a really good game for the Horned Frogs. He finished with 3 touchdowns against Colorado, but there was a moment in the game where all the stats and all of the numbers stopped mattering. There was a moment during the game where he laid on the ground in severe pain, surrounded by coaches and medical staff. But it's during that moment when his future was completely in doubt, when something absolutely amazing was just about to take place. A true show of love. Before we talk about that, we do want to ask you a quick favor. If you're watching this, if you're enjoying it, if you would, just take a quick moment and hit the subscribe button. What we ask is for you all to just join this family. And we're working really hard to try and bring you the latest news on Coach Prime and Colorado. And we appreciate the love and support that you've been offering, but we appreciate you guys so much and would appreciate it if you hit that button. We enjoy being part of this Colorado family, and you guys have been phenomenal through all of it. So do us that favor, and we'll appreciate it. So as Sanders was laying on the ground in excruciating pain, wondering if his career is potentially over, Coach Prime walked over from the sideline. He then stood over Trey and said something. The media covered it. It went viral. TCU coach Sonny Dykes clearly appreciated what was said and showed a lot of love to Coach Prime right then and there, right in the middle of that epic battle. I think it was a 3-point game at that point. Yesterday afternoon, Coach Prime finally revealed what everybody in the world wanted to know. Coach, what did you say? And I apologize. If we get a little bit emotional today, just try and stick with us until the end, because I think you might learn something here. So in Coach Prime's own words, this is what he said. He said, I walked over to him because he was a kid that wanted to come here. The reason I didn't take him is because he had sustained significant injuries, but I still had a lot of love for the kid because he wanted to play for us. So I went over there and I said, son, now I know if you don't get up, they ain't got a chance. So I want you to get your butt up and get back in this game and be dominant like you have been. That's what I told him. I wanted the kid to be dominant. His last name's Sanders, first of all, and he was the number 2 on offense. That's what the conversation was. So let me stop here. How many coaches do you see go out and give love to an injured opponent? I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not many. There are a few, but it is uncommon. How about this quote? I still had love for the kid because he wanted to play for us. How many coaches have you ever heard that they said they loved a kid who is playing for another team because they wanted to play for him? I don't ever remember hearing that quote. I don't ever remember hearing a coach say something like that. Most of the time, we get so caught up in recruiting, and if a kid doesn't pick our school, people on social media send them violent, hateful tweets, and, oh, they'll never be any good, or, oh, he wasn't a take for our program. But that's not what Coach Prime said. That's not what Deion Sanders, the Hall of Famer, said. He said, I still loved that kid because he wanted to play for us. How about this quote? I want you to go get your butt up and get back in this game and be dominant like you have been. How many coaches have you ever heard tell an injured player that they want them to be dominant against their own team and cheer for them to get back up and keep fighting? Again, nobody wants to see injuries. Nobody's cheering for injuries. But when Kobe or Shaq went out of the finals for the Lakers, don't you think the other coaches breathed a little sigh of relief? Do you think they were begging for Kobe or Shaq to get back in there and keep playing? Probably not. I don't ever recall hearing a coach say anything like that. Coach Prime finished the story up, adding some levity, explaining his behavior was because his last name was Sanders and he was number 2 on offense, and pointing out that the kid wanted to play for him. But I don't know if that's fully accurate. I don't think that's the only reason Coach Prime did what he did. I believe that he would have shown the same love to a player if it was Jerry Rice Jr. laying out there on the field. I think that he would have shown the same love to anyone laying their butts on the line and playing super dominantly. Why? Because Coach Prime thrives on competition. It fuels him, and he loves to see it in his players, both his players and the players on the other side of the field. After Coach Prime said what he said, it clearly meant a lot to TCU's coach, Sonny Dykes. They embraced a few seconds before, Sonny showing his appreciation to Coach Prime before he headed back to his own sideline. How many times have you seen an opponent show this kind of love for the other coach in the middle of a heated battle? Again, I'm not saying that none of these things ever happen, but do you remember coaches shaking hands, laughing, and carrying on in the middle of a game ever before? I just can't recall any. Put them in the comments if you can remember them, but that is just uncommon in our sport. What Deion Sanders showed the world on that field Saturday was love. He loved that kid. He loved that kid he loved that he was so competitive and that he was fighting so hard. He loved that the game was close. He loved the competition. He loved the crowd. And he loved that all of that was bringing out the best in his players. And guess what? Out of all the people who got to witness that love on display, out of all of those people, do you know who it's going to resonate the most with? Go out and ask the 2024 recruiting class and their families what love means to them. Go out and ask next year's 2025 recruiting class what that love means to them. My point is this. I don't think Deion Sanders did this for a show or to impact recruits or anything like that. Kids can tell when you're genuine. But my point is that kids know this. Kids can see it and they understand it. The kids can tell a difference between the fast talkers. They can tell a difference between the used car salesman. They can tell a difference between people who are there just to love their paycheck. And they can tell when someone genuinely loves them and cares for them. They know someone who cares about them like a father would. And guess what? That someone is Coach Prime. And I suspect that all of these recruits, all of these transfers, all of their families are going to be running toward that. That is what it is to be part of this family and to experience that love. And it was on full display on Saturday for the nation to see. It was the second highest rated game, the TCU game of the weekend, as far as viewers watching. And now many millions more know the truth behind what actually happened. And it is a phenomenal display of love. It is a phenomenal display of being genuine. And it is a phenomenal display of who Coach Prime is and why we're so thankful that he's the coach of the Buffaloes. We've told you a couple of times about Prize Picks. If you've made it through to the end of this video, go check out our Prize Picks app. You can use code BUFFS, BUFFS. We appreciate them for their support. Go make some money this weekend by picking the more or less on Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, and others. Appreciate Prize Picks for their support. And thank you guys, as always, for watching the prime time for college football.